It's a few more minutes to catch up, hopefully.
Yeah.
Still waiting, says Mike.
So how do you do that? You go live over Zoom?
Zoom, yeah. We use this Zoom platform, and it's great. I've done podcasting and live streaming for a long time, and the Zoom platform is terrific.
So they have this.
You can go live.
API,
You can go live. You can go live right from Zoom. And I'm going to assume that we're up and we're live. And we welcome everybody. Every Monday, we come to you. This is ScaleUp Heroes. We bring the best minds with the best real life experiences when it comes to scaling up businesses. And with us every Monday are the guests who are the heroes that took on the difficult odds, and they're willing to share their experiences with us. I'm your host, Randy Cantrell. To all of our viewers, we want to invite you to visit our website, ScaleUpAcademy.io. Today, we're going to discuss just scaling up in general with some of the folks at the top of the food chain in their organizations. So we welcome our viewers and our guests to the show. I'm going to have each of you, if you would, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your company and what you do, and just kind of paint some context for our listeners. I'll start with you, Gianluca. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me here. And I'm Gianluca Massini Rosati. I'm the CEO of Xriba, and I'm based in London. Today I'm not in London, as you can see, probably from my back. But the company is based in London, and Xriba is a protocol and an AI that records bookkeeping in the blockchain. It's a new way to record the accounts and by an AI that does these boring things by itself, helping the entrepreneur and the accountancy department in saving over 70% on time and doing this job. I started this new business from one of my existing business. I have an accountancy firm in Italy, probably one of the big 5 accountancy firms now. And last year, when we were growing very fast, we had problems in managing all the data entry stuff, and we started to develop this AI that can do this job by itself. And from that, we started to build a big project that now is worldwide. We just raised almost $13 million US. We closed our ICO 2 days ago. And now we are working on building the platforms and the software and this worldwide protocol that we would like to be adapted from all the countries in the world to record the bookkeeping in the same way. So more or less, that's what I do.
Well, thanks. Welcome, Saeed.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Saeed Gouda. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started building companies a couple of years back. The first successful exit I had was actually in Southeast Asia. I built an online food delivery app in Singapore, Philippines, and Malaysia that we sold to Rocket, a conglomerate out of Berlin. Then I got into mobile classifieds, also in the same region that we also have sold to the bigger competitor there. In 2017, and end of 16, I started consulting a couple of bigger tech companies for their growth. And in 17, I got deeply into blockchain, and now Growth Brains is helping growing tech companies as well as helping with the community building of different blockchain projects. And I'm also advising a few token sales that are around. That's for me.
Give us some sense, because I know the audience is going to be curious. Give us some sense of where you're at right now, because I know people are very curious. He's not where you think he is. He's not being held captive or anything.
We just had that conversation a couple of minutes ago. So I'm currently in Bali, in Munduk, on some kind of mountain, meeting someone that is very much into hiking and into going into the mountains. So I'm kind of in a wooden cottage here with a pretty bad light. So no, I'm not being taken
it's all
hostage.
right, though.
I'm
It's
just
awesome.
here out there.
It's awesome. No, thanks for joining us, Hiro.
Hi, my name is Hiro. I'm actually a stone's throw away from Saeed in Jakarta, Indonesia. Not in some cottage, but it's pretty decent out here. So I actually run business development for a company called Chope in Indonesia. Chope is actually an online restaurant reservation platform in the largest in Asia. So we are based out of 8 major cities in Asia, including Shanghai in China, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Jakarta, and of course Singapore. So I entered Chope through an acquisition. I started a company with my co-founder called Makan Luar in Jakarta that we expanded to Bali. And in 2016, we got acquired by Chope, which was based out of Singapore. And since then, we've been running the business in Indonesia to help them grow that business. So since we've been acquired by Chope, we've seen significant growth. Obviously, the capital injection has helped us out a lot. And recently, Chope just closed an 18 million Singapore dollar round to help us fuel our expansion in Asia.
Well, great. Well, thanks all of you for being here. I want to kind of start in kind of a little bit of a reverse order and ask you to share with us and our audience some experiences with some key things that now that you look back at wherever you are right now in this scale up journey that you're in presently, and some of you've had prior scale up journeys, but what are some things that you wish you would have learned or discovered earlier, things that now that you look back, boy, it would have made a significant difference, either accelerated the growth or just help you more easily overcome some challenges? Hiro, I'll start with you.
I think one of the key things I learned with scale is ultimately where we operate in Asia. To replicate our business model across the different regions in Asia is actually quite challenging. We need to hyper localize our product. And one of the key things that helps you out with that is to hire right and hire quick. One of the key mistakes that we did was we took a lot of time in trying to hire the right people, and we hired wrongly in certain occasions. So I think that one of the key things that we learned is about the critical part about growing and scaling your business is having the right team with the right work ethic and the right drive, and you have to hire them as quick as possible. Without them, it's really, really hard to grow your business especially in Asia. That's one thing I would have done differently. The way I hired my people at the very beginning.
So what did it look like versus what you now think it should have looked like, other than the time component? And why did the time component kick in? Were you just being too picky, or?
I think one of the things when you are pressured to grow is to hire quick, and you somehow lose that, I would say, the balance between quality and speed in your hiring policy. And oftentimes what we found is we hired people that didn't have the right work ethic or the right culture fit, if that's the right way to look at it. And I think that's what made it even harder. So I think how we should have done it would have been a more methodological approach by being able to filter out the guys with the right cultural fit and the right drive to be able to grow the business. Because at the end of the day, these guys need to be able to share that vision and be able to, their own personal growth should be in line with your company growth. I think that's one of the things that we didn't look at closely at the start because of the pressure of just wanting to add more and more people. But I think we've gradually learned that the best way to do it is to hire quick, but hire the right type of people. Even if you have to compromise a bit on the pace of hiring, right. I'd rather hire the right people. Yeah.
Saeed?
What I learned for me, like the biggest one, I totally agree with Hiro because I had a similar experience in hiring. But what I learned is saying no, or basically looking at what not to do instead of looking at what to do. Or in other words, people would say focus, because in some instances when you run a business, I'll give you an example. When we ran the food business, there was we were focusing on delivering food from the restaurants to the consumers directly. There were so many other parts that we could tackle, like, for example, delivering to corporates or delivering high-end fine dining food and offering an extra service such as the delivery or whatnot. So there's so many corridors, but I would rather pick one really simple thing that would add either convenience for a lot of people or something that would be of a very deep impact for a few people, but really be super good at that and forget about all the fluff around it, or forget about a lot of the different things that everyone is trying to come at you as a CEO and tells you, hey, we can also do this, or we can also do that, or actually we can also make a buck here or make a buck there. So I learned it the hard way, kind of, to just focus on one thing and do it really good and eliminate the fluff, basically.
Well, was part of that just in the process of figuring out the business model? I mean, was part of that, what now everybody calls, the pivot, or figuring out where you needed to pivot? Or was it something other than that?
It was part
revenue add-ons kind of a thing. Like, we could also do this because we can do this thing, then we can also do that and this and that.
Exactly. It was more of like people looking at the opportunities where to grow through additional revenue streams.
Right.
But actually, if we focused on being more efficient, let's say having a better product that converts better, or having a sales team that closes restaurants faster, or having the orders going to the restaurants faster, or having the marketing acquisition cost of the consumer being lower, and just focusing on one corridor, that would have actually, it took us 3 months of here and there of a bit of a slowdown, and then we really took off when we cut the fat and said, okay, we don't want to print an offline magazine, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, we're just going to focus on those 4 things or those 3 things. For every department, you have one primary thing you do. The secondary, you spend only 20% of your time on. And this is how it is. And this is what you're going to do every day. And then in 1 month, we can talk about if we're going to revisit those things again, or in 1 quarter. Then it works. But if you have like every second day, someone comes with an idea and then starts working on it, and then a week after have another idea and starts working on it, it's never going to scale up, basically.
Yeah, the distractions are enormous, and a big time and efficiency suck for sure. True story. I was a young man. I was working in a retail store, and I had a boss who thought everything was important. Right, one of those guys. And I was 17 or so, and I remember telling a coworker, I said, if everything is important, nothing's important. I mean, you got to have priorities, and exactly. I have lived by that. I'm clearly not 17 anymore, but it's absolutely true. You have to establish priorities. Yeah,
exactly.
Thanks for that.
Go ahead. If I would say 2 things, if you have 18 things on the table, I would pick 1 primary thing and 1 secondary thing, and remove the rest until one of the 16 other ones is extremely burning. But I would pick primary and secondary, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm here in Texas, and to use an American Western metaphor of branding cattle, you irons in the fire, and here in the States, we say, he's got too many irons in the fire. You got to let one iron get hot enough so that you can use it to brand a cattle, so it's a similar kind of a thing. Gianluca.
Yes, I think that's one of the things that I would have learned earlier in my life, to be honest, with my business, is the power of your brand positioning. Because whatever you want to reach in your life, one more important thing is who know you, and much more important is who knows you. So because you need people to know you before you're sitting in front of them, and the work that you have to do before trying to sell them your product, yourself, your project. If you want to raise money, they have to know you, and they have to trust you. So one of the things that I learned probably later on in my career was to position myself in the right place, and to gain the trust of the people that want to sell something to. So that's the thing that I learned probably in the last 3-4 years. And from there, I started to build my positioning with media, with press, with a lot of PR. And it brings me a lot of people around, a lot of large community. And also now when I started to sell my project, raising money during the ICO was really important. All the people that know me already before I were there to ask them money. So
were there specific things that you began to do in the last 2 to 3 years that you didn't do earlier?
Yeah, I started to find the niche, a specific niche, and in my case was the taxes. So how to save money on taxes, how to help people in saving money on taxes. So I became an expert in doing that, and I started to say different things from the masses, from the other people, and position myself in as an outsider, in giving them some advice and helping the people, adding value to these people. And also the name that I found in that moment was quite strange, because was tax escapologist. So I used this name to gain my position in my niche. And a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of professionals started to follow me. Now I have more than 150,000 people on my social media, and now they trust me. And when I try to sell them something, they trust me and they buy what I'm trying to sell them. So it means what any kind of services, my company, my project, my tokens, my applications, and whatever it is. So I think that to scale fast, it's important also to position yourself and to work with a lot of PR, a lot of people that put you in the right place, in front of the right people, working with influencers. So that's some key points.
Yeah, it's the world we're in for sure. No, and thanks for sharing that. Share with us a time when your growth, and you can measure growth any way that you choose. It could be in product innovation, it could be in revenues, it could be any measurement that you would choose, but where growth may have stalled, or where growth, you felt like growth was being threatened to stall, and you took some action to counteract that. I'm curious what that story would be like, especially what you did to respond to it, what you learned from it, what you helped your company learn from it. And I'll go ahead and start with you, Gianluca.
What's the question specifically? What would you?
Well, share with us a time where in your background in trying to scale up, you experienced a stall in growth. You weren't growing at the rate you wanted to grow. Measured any way that you choose to measure it. It doesn't have to be in revenue. You know, we've had engineers. In fact, next week we're going to do scaling up engineering, and a lot of focus on technology and product and innovation. It could be a stall in that regard. But sometime when growth stalled and you sensed it and you took action, I'm curious what that story is. What action did you take, and what did you learn from it, and how did you help your company and the culture learn from it?
I think that when you grow fast, you need to find the right people that will want to grow with you. And you have, as also Hiro said before, you need to find these people to helping you in grow fast and faster, because you cannot do everything by yourself. So you need to find the A team player that want to grow with you and that can help you in managing many things. But because when you grow very fast, there are many things that happens all together in different areas of your business. So you need to find the right people in the sales team, and so also in managing procedures, and the right tech guys, also the developers, because you don't have all the skills that you need when you're growing fast. So you need to find people that believe in the same thing that you believe, and help you in different sectors.
But have you encountered a time where it wasn't happening as fast as you knew it should or could?
Yes, I think that find the people is the most challenging thing that you can face. So it has to happen. But
so when that happened for you, you felt like it was a people issue.
Yes,
you could grow, but the people were kind of the constraint.
For sure.
Good.
I think the people is to find the right people is one of the most important thing that you need to
and we hear that. We hear that week after week here on the show. It's a universal problem. Hiro?
For us, to be honest, when in regards to the product and the business that we were in, as we continue to grow and the industry continued to evolve, the needs of our customers became even more harder to satisfy. And in order to do that, we had to balance between customizing on a per customer basis, which would then hinder our scale, or to actually focus on a product, a core basic product, and then have those little customizations as add-ons for different types of clients. Now, that kind of decisions actually take a long time to ponder, because you stand a chance to lose some of the big clients that actually pay you a lot of money because you're unable to customize certain features for them. But at the expense of scale, I cannot grow a business if I had to customize my product for every individual client. It doesn't make sense. I need to build a core basic product and then try to build customized features for different clients as add-ons. So somewhere around, I would say mid towards end 2016, that's when we hit that roadblock where our product was in a state whereby we had to revamp the whole thing again and build a core that we could customize on a per customer basis from a basic core. Initially, how we had set it up was that it was very custom built for different types of customers, and we could not scale that product. Even with regards to our mobile app, our consumer-facing app, for the longest time, we had the same app for 3 to 4 years. It was the same app. There were no changes made to it because of resource constraints and our focus on the B2B side of the business as opposed to the B2C side of the business. So there came a point in time where we just had to sit down and say, look, we are not growing as fast as we should in the B2C side. We need to allocate different resources, take budgets out from different departments, push it into the B2C side of the business. That infuriated some of our colleagues, but it was a decision that we had to make. So you will find yourself having to make certain decisions that don't please everyone in the company. Oftentimes taking budgets from different departments and pushing it to another department so that you can fuel the growth of another side of the business that's extremely important for your entire organization to grow. And that requires a lot of communication from top down. So your managers, the leaders in the company, they have to be able to convey that message out to the entire team to let them know, hey, this is what we're doing, and you will actually see the results within the next 6-7 months. And the people have to be confident that you've made the right call.
Now, once you did that, describe what the landscape inside the company looked like once everybody had kind of settled down. I mean,
you would find some people disagreeing at the start, so that took a bit of time. But eventually, it was the right call. We had 6 months of, I would say, a stall whereby we were actually going back to the drawing board, building everything from building a quality product again.
Right.
And then we went out there to sell this second version of our product. And now the sales have been, scaling left, right. It's been much faster than it was before. So we made the right call, but we had that 6 months of suffering,
right.
slow sales, So
yeah, well, success always helps convert the people who weren't believers to begin with.
Correct. Yeah. But it's one of those things that, especially, when you have that 6 months of when you're rebuilding again and right. You don't have that, that growth that you want, but then that you have a 6 months of lull, and then you can see that exponential growth once you made the right call, once everything is ready. So that's when you need to start convincing your team and letting them know that, hey, this is the right way to go. Just have a little bit of patience, and then once we are ready to roll, we will go all out.
Yeah.
And I think that's difficult. Yeah.
Good. Saeed?
I guess the team part was really valid from Gianluca. I also experienced that, the workflow part as well from Hiro. There is one part that we directly experienced that was not mentioned. Maybe I would compliment the guys with, which is we were at that time doing a regional play in Asia, and we're trying to scale up one market, But the problem is that this market's unit economics were not changing the top line. So they were not really moving the needle. They were maybe moving one part of the KPIs, which is the number of items you're moving, but it wasn't really growing much on the revenue part or the top line. So we needed to switch kind of the markets, look for the markets that bring us the biggest top line to complement the growth in the number of orders we had. So what we did is we went to a market where the currency itself is extremely strong and the basket sizes were very big. So that it reflected in the top line, and it complemented the number of orders we had from the other market that had a weak currency. So that's something, I guess, also if you're looking at building something or scaling in several markets, be definitely very conscious about the unit economics of those markets. So you could definitely show your investors or show yourself a higher top line or revenue.
And let me stay with you, Saeed, since you're having a few difficulties with signal, and we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna make this kind of the last question. Share with the audience, and keep in mind that we've got people that are just scaling up, and there may be just a handful of people, and they're in the throes of really trying to get the initial funding raised, and other people that are way past that. What are some key pieces of advice that you would have for anybody who's out there interested in scaling up, especially people at the top who are trying to lead, who are trying to get the culture that they want, trying to build this thing that is their dream? Some of the things that you've learned that you think would be valuable to share.
Some of the concrete things that I think are actually common sense, but a lot of startups, like 8 out of 10 startups or tech companies I've consulted, make the mistake, is really have a communication architecture, and that you communicate to the whole organization in a regular way. So have weekly meetings where that are data driven and not opinionated. So take the opinion completely out of the equation. Some companies, you go in and they're just, I think this, I think that. Just let the numbers talk. So make it extremely data driven, and have a weekly update in terms of the numbers, and let the numbers drive the business, instead of, you of course have a gut feeling to it, but let 70% of the business be driven by the numbers. If you're going to be scaling up in 6 months to 1 year, if you have a vision of 5 years and you have deep-pocketed backers that also have a strong belief in the thing, and you're not going to be growing soon, but they believe in it, fine. But if you really need to scale up fast, I think numbers are extremely important. The second thing is, as Gianluca was saying, is the team. If you have a weak arm in the team, don't hesitate to cut it off and replace it. It's going to hurt, but if you wait, it's going to hurt more, because it's going to be rotten. This is how I see it. So definitely, if you think a restructure in the organization is due, start doing it. I mean, if you're just before a fundraising round, it's going to be a bit hard. But I mean, in general, I would say restructure fast and hire fast, but fire faster if the people don't fit the company. So those would be some of the points that I would definitely do.
Yeah, no, thank you. Gianluca?
Yes, I would say I've said the same thing about the communication channel that you need to set up within your company before the with market, because when you're growing very fast and you're hiring many people, and like myself, for example, now we have more than 150 people in my network, and sometimes you are running so fast, and a lot of people don't know where you are going and where the company is going. So you need to share very often the vision of the company, and also the people that sometimes the company does, because sometimes you're going in a direction, but you suddenly you change something, and the people probably don't know the change that we've done. So share the vision is important. And also weekly update is very, very important within the company, and of course outside the company. So with your community, with your followers, it's really important. I think this is one of the first thing that I would say. Of course, another important thing when you're growing very fast is to monitor KPIs. So you need to monitor the performance of your team and to understand who is the members that are adding much more value to your project, and you take care of them, and also let them grow within the company and give them much more responsibility to let them grow in the company. Because I think that the most important people for you will be the people that grow in the company. They're starting from to be a simple employee and start to be managers, and to grow within and to share their skills with the other new people in the company where you are when you hire somebody new. So I think these are key things when you are scaling up very fast.
Hiro?
The points that Saeed and Gianluca brought up are actually very, very relevant. But one of the things that I wanted to share is the importance of product market fit and what your user thinks about your product, especially your power users. From the get-go, when you're a young company and you start to develop a few core power users, find out exactly from them what they like and what they hated about your product, and build from there. Oftentimes, what we do is we try to look for increasing our user base exponentially without actually looking into the feedback from our core user set, how often they use our product and what they like about it and what we should improve upon. I think from the early stages, you should be doing that. You should be focusing on making sure that that product market fit is bang on, and that will help scale big time.
Very good. Very good, guys. Let me say thanks and goodbye to our Facebook audience. You guys stay right here with us, and we'll say our goodbyes once we leave Facebook. But to everybody at Facebook Live, we want to especially thank you for being here today and giving us your time and attention. Thanks to Hiro, Gianluca, and Saeed for sharing their insights with us. Visit our website at scaleupacademy.io if you want to learn more about us and what we do. And if you find these live streams valuable, and we hope that you do, we hope that you'll hit the like button and share today's show. I'm your host, Randy Cantrell, and I hope that you'll join us next week. We plan to talk about scaling up engineering next Monday, July the 16th. Till then, everybody have a great week.